Oh, yes. Welcome from Paul Jones to another hour of Rhythm and Blues. And as I promised last week, I am sitting here with Van Morrison. We're going to be talking about his taste in music. We're going to be talking about all sorts of things. But why don't we kick off with the record that brought him and them into public awareness? Baby, Please Don't Go. Baby, Please Don't Go by Them and a youthful Van Morrison. I was listening closely to it that time, Van. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. And noticing that on the last set of harmonica breaks there, you actually came in on the 7th of the scale instead of on the 5th, which the rest of the phrases do. Were those records actually done pretty quickly?
Oh, yeah, very quickly. That was Swiss Cottage. We did... it'd be an afternoon. You do 4 songs in an afternoon or something. And, whole albums, 2 days.
Mostly first takes.
Yeah, an album, 2 days to do an album, then somebody else. I don't even think they needed to mix it then, did they? 2-track.
That's right, yes. Yeah. Straight down,
yeah.
Not much mixing involved. Was Them the height of your ambition at the time, or were you kind of looking at it as a rung on a ladder?
No, well, I didn't really. I mean, I wasn't really very ambitious at all. That sort of came. I mean, I'm trying to get the grips with this at the minute because I'm writing it all down from that period. But it was sort of.
Does that mean there's a book on the way?
Yeah. Well, I'm sort of grappling with the book. It's too early to say whether it's on the way or not. I'm sort of trying to grapple with remembering. Actually, that came from me wanting to just open this R&B club in Belfast because I'd been playing with a show band here in Camden Town, and I heard about this 51 club, and I went down to this, it was the Ken Collier Club or something. Then I went down and I met this group called the Downliner Sacked, who were doing sort of Bo Diddley, Jimmy Reed and all this stuff. So it came out of visiting this club a couple of times and then going back to Belfast and wanting to open an R&B club. And that was really it. I mean, that was the extent of the ambition. I mean, we had really no intention of making records or anything like this. It's sort of something that developed out of, what we were doing at this club. And, we got more people interested. When we first started, it was like, nobody wanted to know. And then it expanded and went on from there. And then they started, getting people from record companies interested. And then we got management and all this stuff. So, I mean, there wasn't any intention originally of actually going in this direction at all. It just sort of, things were sort of happening, and I was just going along with what was happening, and not really knowing what was happening, but thinking it must be leading somewhere, going somewhere, that kind of thing.
What records were you listening to at the time?
At that time, Ray Charles, Muddy Waters I'd been listening to for quite some time, since the early 70s, it's on Vogue. My father had that stuff, Muddy Waters stuff, and I was listening to, Slim Harpo, Sonny Boy Williamson, Hooker a lot. In fact, the Baby Please Don't Go, that version of it, I got originally from Hooker, that version that you just heard. And I was listening to Hooker a lot then.
So why don't you pick us a Hooker track to?
Okay, well, one of my favorites is Serves Me Right to Suffer.
Serve Me Right to Suffer, John Lee Hooker. Van was just saying that it was another version that he was particularly keen on at the time. Probably recorded with Sam Jones and Lewis Hayes, he was saying, which was actually the rhythm section from the Cannonball Adderley Quintet, believe it or not. But that one was recorded for VJ in 1964 with unknown guitar, bass and drums. Of course, you went on subsequently to record with Hooker yourself.
That's right, yeah, I did a couple.
We have played TB Sheets before on this program.
I didn't record, Hooker stole that from me, one of those numbers.
Right,
yeah.
And that's a good story.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that...
Well, actually, he did his own version, but he got he used to come into my gigs and said, man, I really like this TB Sheets number, and, and he recorded his own version,
Most of us fans steal our songs from people like John Lee Hooker.
Exactly.
It's really an accolade to have one of your songs stolen by John Lee Hooker. Just go back a little bit and tell me about your harmonica playing. Did you have, what influences were there?
Harmonica influences were, I've sort of, early on it was Little Walter and mainly Sonny Boy Williamson, Sonny Terry before that, Sonny Boy Williamson, Little Walter. I played with Little Walter when he was in London. I played on a couple of gigs with him.
Where was that?
Some pubs in London. He was playing, pubs all over the place, and I forget. He had the one I played with him. He only had an acoustic guitar player. He arrived at the gig, and it was a drummer and myself went to the gig with him, and he got up there and he had like this guy playing acoustic guitar. And he said, "No, this is not what I thought. It was an electric band." So myself and the drummer got up with him to do the gig. I forget where it was. It was some pub somewhere.
Just to help out?
Yeah.
No money changed hands?
No, because there was hardly anybody there, actually. It hadn't been hadn't been advertised properly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But he was in London for a couple of months, and I was staying at the same hotel. So I saw quite a bit of him.
Oh,
And
I
used to go for Chinese food. He used to send me for Chinese food, and then he used to throw a few ships on me, when I went. But he also played chromatic. Well, he taped the button up. He put a piece of sellotape over the button. He never didn't use the button.
No.
No.
Which meant that he only ever played it in the... I mean, you play a C chromatic in the key of D minor. Or if you tape the button in, you can play it in E flat minor.
That's what he did.
Oh, right. So it was
Tape the button in, yeah.
Interesting. What about Cyril Davis? I see that you've brought a Cyril Davis record.
Yeah, because, I was looking for something to remind me of that sort of period, and that one, the sort of beginning, the British R&B sort of time when, I suppose when I was playing, like I said, I was playing in a show band, and I went down to this number 51 club or whatever it was, and then later remember playing where Alexis Corner used to play. So was it 100 Club or something? But I just threw that in because it reminds me of that time period, and I think which was very important.
Great. Country Line Special. Country Line Special. Cyril Davis, a remarkable harp player for the time, and of course there were a whole bunch of musicians from Screaming Lord Sutch's Savages there. Bernie Watson on guitar, Nicky Hopkins, who later went on to work with the Stones, among others, Ricky Brown on bass, and Carlo Little on drums. Bernie Watson, of course, went on to John Mayall. You were just saying that you'd recognise that tune as something else.
Yeah.
What?
It sounds a bit like a Sonny Terry number,
Oh, it certainly sounds like a Sonny Terry number, yes. You were talking before that about... British R&B. What was it like to be in an Irish R&B band? Was it like harder or easier, or do you think it was about the same?
I think it was about the same then.
And people didn't make it sort of harder for you because you came from across
I see what you mean.
Bit of water.
Oh, well, there was a bit. It was a bit like it was a bit of that actually. We were sort of like trying to sort of as a show band trying to break into these R&B. I remember we played the Cafe a Go-Go in Newcastle when it was known as the Animals were known then as the Ellen Price Set. I remember playing there. I think we played this place out in Ealing as well.
Oh, the club that Alexis started, yes,
yeah,
that's right,
yeah.
yes. It later became known as the Moist Hoist, I think.
Yeah.
It had a terrible condensation problem, so that was a very good name for it.
Yeah.
But actually, I must admit, I think we were slightly envious of you because you came from that little bit nearer to America than we did.
Maybe there was, some... there wasn't much rhythm and blues in Ireland then. There was a group in Dublin called Blues Something or Other in Dublin. Apart from that, and us, there was like nobody else. A few show bands played sometimes some R&B numbers, but groups, funnily enough, wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Groups were still playing sort of Shadows numbers then in Ireland. And they didn't want to know about anything else, so...
It was a curious time, because I remember turning up at ballrooms to play and actually sharing the bill with Shadows-type groups, which was really weird.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Alan Price set, as the Animals used to be, just then. You actually did I Put a Spell on You yourself.
Yeah, I actually did it before Price, but much the slower version, Nina Simone.
Did you get it from Nina Simone?
Yeah.
Not from Screaming Jay Hawkins, which is where it actually originated?
No, I'd never heard that, actually.
No, I didn't hear that myself until much, much later.
Yeah.
We all got it from Nina Simone.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's hear it. Great stuff. Them and I Put a Spell on You. Who was the sax player on that one?
The sax player on this was Ray Elliott.
Very nice. What's he doing these days?
I haven't a clue. I think he was last seen in Canada somewhere, but this was like the second incarnation of the band, and I wanted to get more. He was a jazzer from way back, and so I wanted to get more jazz-oriented people in the group.
Of course, on the
second album.
the early records, you were playing saxophone yourself.
Yeah. I'm playing more sax now.
Yeah, you've gone back to it.
Yeah, I got a bit lazy for a while, but now I'm getting back into it again.
I'm pleased to hear it, I must say. The vibes player on that also, I mean, that gave it an extra jazz flavour, didn't it?
Well, he also played the vibes as well.
Oh, that's the same guy?
Same guy played vibes as well.
That's a nice double.
Yeah.
Funny enough, there's a man called Alan Branscombe who doubles saxophone and vibes. Good double, that one.
Yeah.
The vocals very assured on that. I mean, in fact, actually, your vocals are very assured in those early days of them by comparison, but with, other people, I would say, of the same generation. You got your own style very young, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, because so many of us were kind of copying this person and copying that person, but it sounds like Van Morrison right from the very beginning. How do you explain it?
Well, I think I was just listening to... Well, it started off, influenced by other people, and then it developed into something else. I think it was mainly just through learning more songs and, learning more songs with different chord changes and things. And then also listening, phrasing like a horn. Like, I used to, try to phrase saxophone lines and things like this. I really worked off that a lot. So I think a lot of it came from saxophone.
Right. Well, interestingly enough, you've picked Sonny Boy Williamson, the second track, which is, I always thought, correct me if I'm wrong, Bye Bye Bird was actually a reference to Charlie Parker.
Oh, was it? I didn't know that.
Because Bird was... a contraction of Yardbird, which was Charlie Parker's nickname.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, I heard that this is one of the ones the BBC played by mistake, I think, one time. That's where I heard it.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. I think this was on, one of those afternoon shows, BBC shows I heard, I think the guy played it by mistake. I think he thought it was from some, some musical or something,
Well, it's definitely not a mistake this time around. Another one of Van Morrison's choices there, Louisiana Blues, Muddy Waters, together with Little Walter. Oh, take me with you, man, when you go. Big Crawford on the bass and Elgin Edmonds on drums. And before that, you heard Bye Bye Bird, brilliant version with excellent, incredibly sweet accompaniment there. From, I suppose, some version of the Chess House Band.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great.
I mean, it swings like anything, doesn't
it?
It
swings like the Clappers, yeah.
Brilliant stuff. By the way, that was on the boxed set. The Muddy Waters record was on the Chess Masters compilation on Stylus. And I ought to mention that the Cyril Davis record is on a thing called A Shot of Rhythm and Blues, the R&B Era Volume 1, which comes from Castle Communications on their sequel label, a CD. Good stuff. So, more of your influences there, because we were talking about harmonicas earlier on, and you were saying Sonny Boy Williamson and Little Walter.
Yeah.
And yet more coming up, because you touched earlier on the name Ray Charles, a big influence, I would guess.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially the arrangement, his arrangements, and then the gospel thing. I mean, the mixture of jazz, gospel, blues. I mean, I haven't heard anything since, it's even come anywhere close to it. It was just such a wide-ranging thing. And then when he did the country and western thing, I mean, that was,
Did you like that?
Oh, yeah, I loved it. Can't Stop Loving You.
Georgia
You
on my
don't
mind,
know
I
me,
suppose.
Georgia. I mean, yeah, I think he was definitely an innovator.
All that
And still
stuff's
is,
just come out on CD, but what hasn't come out on CD, well, it probably has, and I haven't, if it has, it's passed me by, is the sort of live at Newport material, which was the kind of stuff that really got me excited.
Yeah, me
about
too.
it
That was
then.
the first one I got. It was Ray Charles at Newport, and then
And
Ray
his
Charles
keyboard
live in
playing,
Atlanta.
What I Say, and things like that, but
Well,
also the saxophone.
Yeah, right. Well, he's a very good saxophone player, and in fact, I think he should play more. But he says he's got too many saxophone players in the band. That's why he doesn't play.
Do you know him?
No, I heard an interview with him where he said that. I don't know him. I haven't met him yet.
Just that it was it was a likely possibility because you seem to know so many of these people that are kind of just legends to the rest of us, or some of the rest of us. You've got a track by Ray Charles coming up.
I think he might be playing alto on this. It might be him.
What's it called?
Bit of Soul.
Yes, indeed, Ray Charles on keyboard to start with and alto saxophone to finish with. Very essential sort of phrasing. You're really into phrasing, aren't you?
Oh, yes, absolutely, yeah.
It's the backbone of your own style.
Mm-hmm.
And just lately, you've actually been playing a lot more, because I remember that the last time we spoke, you had recently done 3 nights in a club in Wales.
Yeah, that's right.
And they were all, I remember, because we've not exactly followed you, but quite closely followed after you in that club. And the guy there was reeling from the impact of your, I won't flatter you too much, but he was kind of pretty high on it. And apparently you yourself enjoyed yourself quite a lot.
Oh, yeah, well, because I got a chance to, do more sort of blues material then and play more horn and that, which, it's a bit difficult, as you know, in concerts, which everything's structured much more in concerts, but in a club you can sort of, let go a bit more and do different things in a club. So that was, I really enjoyed it.
The concerts bother you then? The big ones?
Well, it don't bother me. It's good. I just look at it now as two different things. The concerts being more of a structured show and, the clubs being more of just playing. Yeah.
So you did 3 nights of quite long sets, and I had the impression that you were really back onto something that you'd been... Because I remember that the time before that we chatted, you really had gone off performing altogether.
Oh, that's right. Well, this band actually, since hooking up with Georgie Fame, I've had a new... there's been a whole new thing happening in performing. It's completely different. I mean, I was really bored with performing for about 6 or 7 years, and then this band, it's so good. I mean, there's so much happening musically in this band, you can't be bored. And I think that's why, I'm enjoying it more now.
You were saying before that you opened up with I Will Be There?
Yeah, we start with I Will Be There, yeah.
Well, in that case, why don't we have it right now?
Okay.
What a fine album that is. St. Dominic's Preview is the album, and that was I Will Be There. You're saying you do it faster on stage?
Yeah, we do this a bit faster now.
You were taken aback by how slow that was.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Good feel, though. Let's go a long way back, because we sort of missed out there must have been something important going on in your life before them. What was the first blues that you ever heard?
Well, the first blues I ever heard was... it was my father had records, from the big band era. I forget exactly, but maybe Woody Herman or something.
Was your father a musician?
No, he wasn't, but he was, he just listened to jazz. He was, one of those collectors. I mean, they had, used to go to this this record shop Solly Lipswitz had in High Street in Belfast. And, he bought loads of jazz records. And then later on, I heard Leadbelly. That was the one that really, knocked me out, was Leadbelly. And then there was a bloke that was on television then called Rory McEwen, Scottish folk singer, who really did very, very good Leadbelly and played very extremely good 12-string, who I really liked. And so that was like the first thing. And then, I thought it was too good to be true. Then Donegan came out, and he was playing Leadbelly, so... all this sort of stuff was happening, and then
suddenly everything was
Skiffle group and all. Yeah, everything was Leadbelly.
Well, suddenly everything's Leadbelly now. Lonnie Donegan, and it must be said that on so many of our guests on this program, and certainly so many of the people who play blues in this country, Lonnie Donegan was an amazing influence. Of course, that was a Leadbelly song, Bring a Little Water, Sylvie, and before that we had Leadbelly. In the company of Sonny Terry on harmonica. Van, we're unfortunately racing towards the end of the show. Tell me, though, about this film that you've been doing recently.
Oh, yes, well, we filmed a gig in New York, and it's starring myself, Georgie Fame, Muzz Ellison, and John Lee Hooker. which should be finished. I think they're cutting it now. It should be finished the end of April. And I've saw some of the rushes in it. There's some really good stuff there.
Is it going to be shown on TV or in the cinema or what?
I think it could be either or. It's shot as a film, so there's a possibility it could, creep in the art theatres, but it's definitely going to be on television.
Is there any more than just the gig? I mean, is there a lot of backstage footage? Is there some, reportage?
No, just the gig. There's just a lot of this live performance. There's a lot of good camera work.
Who shot the film then?
Oh, okay, I can't remember. John Small.
And do you actually all play together?
Oh well, the Hooker and myself and Georgie play together, but no, Mose is in a separate part of it. But it's, they were guests, so Mose is doing 3 numbers in it. Hooker's doing 2. Save Your Right to Suffer, and of course his big hit, Boom Boom.
Great. That sounds like something well worth looking forward to. Let's finish up with a Van Morrison track. Can we have Cleaning Windows?
Oh, yes.
Sir, again. What?
Van Morrison there, Cleaning Windows from the album Beautiful Vision, reminiscing about 1962. Not only Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee and Muddy Waters singing I'm a Rolling Stone, but Jack Kerouac as well. That's the ticket, Van. Now listen, just before you go, tell us, you've got some gigs coming up?
Yeah, April. I've got 3 and 4. Birmingham, Wembley. It's around 2.
Check local press for details.
That's the one.
Birmingham, NEC, and Wembley. Van, thanks very much for being with us.
Thanks, Paul. It's been great.
It certainly has. Next week, we've got By the Smith here in session. The address for our fact sheet and for the entry forms for the bank's Best of British Blues competition, and by the way, this is your very last chance to compete for the kind of start Van and I never had, is Paul Jones. P.O. Box 27, Oxford Road, Manchester, M60, 1SJ. Well, it's thanks and goodbye to not one Ulsterman, but 2. My producer, Dave Shannon, leaves tonight for pastures new. Indescribable thanks to him, and see you next week. Good night from Paul Jones.
Thank you, Paul. See you next week with more vintage rhythm and blues.